Hello and welcome to News9 Mediaverse. My name is Brijesh Pandey. 10 Kuki MLAs of Manipur civil society organizations in suspension of operation groups from hill areas of Manipur and Mizoram met Chief Minister Zoramthanga in Aizawl to seek help. These are the visuals which are playing on the screen. These are Kukis or MLAs who have gone to meet Zoramthanga in Aizawl. My question today is, if these Kukis or MLAs can meet Zoramthanga, then what is stopping them from meeting MEITEI Biren Singh, who is their Chief Minister, who is Chief Minister of Manipur? On the other hand, police and civilians continue to clash over the issue of removal of army barricades. Now, on this issue, I'll be joined by Professor. These are the visuals. I'll be joined by Professor Bhagat Oinam, who is a concurrent faculty of JNU. I'll be joined by Suhas Sharma, Director, Right and Risk Analysis Group. I'll be joined by Dr. Thongolol Haukep, Assistant Professor, JNU. But in the meantime, you can see the visuals on the screen, which tells you a story, of deep divide, of how Manipur state is divided as we speak. All the 10 Kukizo MLAs, they have chosen to meet Mizoram Chief Minister, but they have not met Manipur Chief Minister MEITEI Biren Singh. This particular with these visuals also illustrate what kind of divide that is there in the state of Manipur. So these are the visuals which are coming from Aizawl, Mizoram. I'm being told that Dr. Thongolol Haukep, who's assistant professor from JNU and a very regular feature on News9 Live, News9 Mediaverse, has joined us. Dr. Haukep, welcome to News9 Live. You're watching these visuals, Dr. Haukep. What does this say about the status of events of what right now prevails in the state of Manipur? Kukis or MLAs going to meet Mizoram Chief Minister seeking help, but they cannot seek help from their own Chief Minister, from the government which they are part of.
Brijesh, I think this is nothing but a kind of solidarity. For the last 50, 60 years, if you look to Nagaland state, the Nagaland Assembly since 1963 has passed more than 4 resolutions favoring integration of the Naga inhabited areas of Manipur into the Nagaland state. So looking into this, I think the Chief Minister expressing his solidarity over the kind of problems that the Kuki people in Manipur has faced is something not to worry about, because we are from the same ethnic group. We have linkage in terms of language, culture, origin. So the Mizo Chief Minister showing the kind of solidarity and the kind of help that we needed in this time of trouble. I think he's doing what any chief minister would do to his ethnic kings.
Okay, but there's one more interesting facet to this entire problem. Dr. Haukep, these MLAs are also BJP MLAs. The government is of the BJP. And it's a ringing endorsement of what you say, like that, that they have zero trust in the government. They have said it time and again. Do you see that now the situation has come to a point of no return where they have kind of given up on MEITEI Biren Singh government?
Brijesh, the kind of divide that we have in Manipur, many times this divide is more than party lines, because if you look into the Congress, working committee also, they are divided only on ethnic lines today. If you look into the Manipur Pradesh Congress Committee meeting the Congress leaders like Chidambaram, Zoramthanga, Sonia Gandhi, or Rahul Gandhi, you find that when the Manipur Congress Pradesh Committee made such leaders, there would be a group of people who will be meeting, and you would find that the Kuki members in the Pradesh Committee are missing. So not only in the BJP, it's already in the Congress also that we are divided based on ethnicity, and this doesn't look good, and it is incumbent upon the national parties like BJP and Congress in New Delhi to solve it, to bring about certain form of solutions. But for the last 4 months, we have not seen such a kind of whether it be in terms or other matters, that has been never resolved in the last 4 months. So it's very evident that we are divided based on ethnicity rather than religion or on any other lines, and this division has been very deep as the month goes on. And if you look into yesterday's incident also, you find that uh, you know uh, we will ask central forces to to man the front lines, the border lines, or some even would say it's a line of control already. So we have been deeply divided, and to mend these kind of divisions between the two ethnicity, it will take a lot of effort and time in the coming days to do it. And we have been already clearly stating that we need a kind of political solution so that this kind of ethnic conflicts are not repeated in future, so that the future generation does not see this kind of hatred, this kind of violence again. Manipur is prone to violence in the 1990s. We have all sorts of violence in 1993 between the MEITEIs and the Pangals, between the Kukis and Nagas, and in 1998 between the co-ethnicities, the Thado Kukis and the Paiteis. So we are prone to conflicts, and how to resolve all this kind of, or prevent this kind of conflict, it depends upon certain political arrangement, and we definitely need political decentralization in the form of, of course, in India we have different mechanisms of asymmetric federalism, and within this framework, I think all of these aspirations could be met, and definitely within the Indian state, we could live peacefully as Indians, proud Indians, and look forward toward development and to become a global power and contribute to the nation. I think hopefully with the kind of initiative that we should take, India would in future should not face this kind of discrimination or this kind of violence. The younger generation or the future generation should not
Okay.
see this kind of hatred, this kind of violence in future, and that requires a kind of political arrangement. And definitely India has different framework of federalism that can be accommodated within the Indian Union.
Okay. Mr. Suhas Chakma, Director, Rights and Risk Analysis, has also joined us. Mr. Chakma, welcome to News9 Mediaverse. But before I come to you and ask you a question, one more question to you, Dr. Haukip. What kind of help you are expecting from Mizoram Chief Minister? Do you feel that he is in a position to exercise any kind of influence on how things are panning out in the state of Manipur, sir?
I think as a part of the NDA government in the union, as well as even in Mizoram, the Zoramthanga government can definitely try to be a kind of person who could bridge the gap between Manipur government and the central government by playing a kind of a mediator role. So Zoramthanga has been playing, and then he has been doing all kinds of relief and rehabilitation measures in Zoramthanga district, and to people who fled to Mizoram, the internally displaced people, which goes in terms of thousands in Mizoram. So he has been doing a lot in terms of helping or mobilizing funds and people to help those displaced people in Mizoram as a kind of a big brother of the Chin Kuki Mizo community. He has been doing what he can, and we appreciate such kind of help and the civil society organizations doing concerts and other kind of fundraising events to help people who are displaced, and they are positively playing certain kind of role so that there could be peace. Of course, sometimes they also have some kind of assertion, but definitely I think the party has tried to maintain a balance between some kind of assertion, but yet so far I find that Zoramthanga has been playing some positive role in terms of bringing peace and trying to rehabilitate
And
people
also,
who
and
flee
also, Dr.
Manipur.
Hauke, apart from the help, he has also pretty aggressively voiced his opinion, his frank opinion, if I may say so, about what he thinks of what is unveiling in the state of Manipur, and using phrases to the extent of saying that my blood boils and all. Mr. Chakma, you heard the news that that the Kuki MLAs have gone and met Mizoram Chief Minister. How do you interpret this particular meeting between the Kuki MLAs and Mizoram Chief Minister?
No, I think at this point of time, given the conflict between two communities and the sensitivity over political demands by both factions, both the Kukis and the MEITEIs demanding scheduled tribe status, Kukis demanding some kind of an administrative arrangement. There is no harm meeting them, but I do not think it's something which in any manner will persuade the MEITEIs or the Manipur government. At the end of the day, we have to understand the federal structure of the country, and the Union of India will not take measures akin to what they have taken with respect to Kashmir, reduce the state to union territory, carve out another union territory out of Jammu and Kashmir. That's not something which is going to happen with respect to the demands of the Kukis. And the government is at this point of time trying to bring the situation under control somehow. For the government, the end of conflict means absence of violence, not necessarily meeting the objectives between the two communities. So I do not think in any way what to say. It helps in that sense, but I think it sends basically a clear message to the Manipur government that look, we being part of the whole federal structure, that we being a state, we are willing to help the people who are fleeing from Manipur, and you should create an atmosphere where the Kukis who have fled could return with safety and dignity. I think that message will be much more effective than speaking on political demands, which he usually does. That's fine. I think
Mr. Chakma, there is also, there are also voices, which say that if Kukis or MLAs can meet the Mizoram Chief Minister, why can't they meet Manipur Chief Minister and voice their demand as vociferously as they have been with the Mizoram Chief Minister?
No, I think that's a failure of the Chief Minister of Manipur and the failure of the central government. And that's also a failure of the BJP, because, out of the 10 MLS, 8 MLS belong to the BJP from the Kuki community. So if the BJP leadership, whether it's JP Nadda or Home Minister Amit Shah, cannot convince their own MLS to meet the Chief Minister from their own party, then it's not the failure of the Kukis. It's a failure of the Chief Minister of Manipur. I think that's where the key issue is. I think if the Chief Minister of Manipur cannot create an atmosphere where he could be trusted and people are willing to come and meet him, then obviously they will communicate through somebody else, because each time they may not get the opportunity to meet the Home Minister of India to to convey their demands. So in that sense, if Zoramthanga becomes the medium, they will go through Zoramthanga. If Himanta Biswa Sharma provides that opportunity, I am sure they are willing to meet Himanta Biswa Sharma also. It's a question of what to say, who provides that platform. And at this point of time, I think even the Assam Chief Minister is not going to play a more proactive role, because he has to navigate between the sensitivities of the Manipur Chief Minister and of course the BJP MLAs from his own party, from the Kuki community. So I think the Chief Minister of Mizoram becomes in a way an interlocutor. So what I was saying, that I would say that, for the Chief Minister of Mizoram, it would be more prudent to say that, the Union of India and the state of Manipur should create necessary atmosphere where the cookies could return from Manipur.
But Dr.
That's a significant.
Okay, that's significant. But Dr. Hawkip, I want to ask you a question which is two parts. A, will Mr. Zoramthanga assume the role of interlocutors on behalf of the Kukizo community for a larger audience? Or B, will this meeting be able to press home the point in the enlarged NDA constituents that the time has come for actually readdressing the community, the ethnicities, grievances and hurt, and it should be proactively looked into? Won't M. Biren Singh be more antagonized with this meeting rather than them meeting M. Biren Singh?
Whether Biren is antagonized or not, I think the cookies are doesn't care about him anymore, because as I've indicated, in the morning also in other mediums, that the cookie feel that he is the instigator, he is the problem, and they have been pleading for removal of the chief minister for the last few months, and that has been not successful. So what can they do? It doesn't matter whether the chief minister, to them, whether the chief minister remains or not. They feel that they are a different entity now. They have been divided. There is a kind of, a boundary between the two ethnicities. So it doesn't matter to them much. And they are now only vying for a kind of unity among the several tribes within the Kuki Joe communities, so that they can struggle together. And they are emphasizing on the kind of support they could get from Mizoram and other people, because if you look into the kind of relief and rehabilitation that the union government sanctions, it goes through the state government. And if you look into the kind of reality in Manipur, all the kind of relief and rehabilitations, even medical and other supplies, they were main for children, immunization and others, they have been blocked by the women's group, everywhere. For Kangpopi, from Chirsanpur, it has been blocked, and even for rations for BSF and other central paramilitary forces, they have been blocked. In such a situation, what do you expect the cookies would expect from the state government? So I think they are mobilizing in such a way that they could sustain, and they could pressure for a kind of separate administration they are vying for. So that's how I see right now. And so to some extent, the Kuki MLAs, the 10 Kuki MLAs, as well as the Mizoram Chief Minister Zoramthanga, they played a very vital role, and they have been coordinating, talking, and trying to do certain things that would, at least meet their demands. Because India is a union of states where you have different cultural groups coming together. And as per Article 3 of the Indian Constitution, the state boundaries depends upon the union parliament. They can amend. It's not unconstitutional to amend and change the union, the kind of boundaries that we have in the northeast or any parts of India. The latest being Telangana. The people of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, they have the same language and culture, yet they are divided because the people of Telangana feels that they are economically deprived from the coastal Andhra. So until and unless some semblance of developmental justice is done to the hill areas, I think it will take decades. But the kind of anxiety, the kind of displeasure of this developmental disparity that we have in Manipur, it will keep on, and until you solve this, there is not going to be a Manipur that is peaceful, and you will not have a Manipur that is, vying for a peaceful coexistence. That's how I take, and we have been articulating it in different forms, which many did not take it, positively, because we have been seeing. Of course, we can debate about the process of how this, developmentalism works, but still, you can visibly see in the hill districts that the hill districts lack a lot. We have to look into that, and of course, this has to be resolved through dialogue. But the kind of conflict that we have now, people would prefer to have their own separate entities of economic development rather than
Okay.
discuss with the majority committee now.
I'm also being joined by Professor Oinam Bhagat, who is a concurrent faculty, Special Center for the Study of Northeast JNU. Mr. Bhagat, welcome to News9 Mediaverse. Are you getting my voice, sir? Professor Bhagat? I think there's some technical issue, and Professor Bhagat is not able to receive my voice. Mr. Chakma, I would come to you, and we'll go to Professor Bhagat once his connection is restored. I mean, it's very clear, Mr. Chakma, that the Kukizo community has no faith in Biren Singh government. It is also clear that that there is an absolute deep divide with no signs of any bridge. There is a meeting with Sioux community. There is meeting with Kuki groups also back there in New Delhi with the Home Minister. What kind of chatter are you picking up from those meetings, sir? Are the meetings so inconclusive that there is no sign of any hope whatsoever in any kind of reconciliation?
No, I don't think it's fair also to expect any kind of solution when the conflicts are continuing, and whenever there are opportunities, there will be riots. I don't think in that kind of a situation you could find a solution, because if you give in to one particular group, the other groups will come up. And we have to remember that if you look at the peace processes in Northeast India, it is even difficult where the groups have particular territories. Now, in the case of Manipur, it is contesting claims. So if you look at the contesting claims, the best lesson which we get from the peace process in Manipur, or peace process in Manipur, and which anybody who is interested for some kind of a political resolution, the best lesson is offered by the Naga peace process. The Nagas had entered into ceasefire agreement effective from 25th July 1997. So from 1997 till today, after a gap of over 25 years, they have not been able to find any kind of solution except saying framework of agreement, which nobody knows. And there are different interpretation and text which NSC, NIM, as well as the Government of India official refer to. And one of the key reasons is because of the demands of the Nagas that you have to create a greater Nagaland. So creating Greater Nagaland is, very, very difficult, because at the end of the creating or carving out a state, taking away from somebody else's state, it requires concurrence of the state assembly. And that's the whole issue about Jammu and Kashmir, constitutional challenge, whether the governor could replace the state government. People usually refer to, the Telangana. Please remember, Andhra Pradesh assembly had ratified it. That's why the Congress collapsed. So there are processes which you cannot ignore. And if you look at today, that the government of Manipur will not give an inch with respect to its territory, and that's known by the Home Ministry officials very much. So that is not going to come out if you look at the Naga peace process. And of course, there are territories which the Kukis reside, inhabit from whichever time period. Then the Nagas will say that this belongs to us. And so this whole contesting claim, I don't think there is any official in the Home Ministry who believes that they can find conclusive solution, acceptable solution. They are keeping engage so that people basically do not fall off the map. At least something goes wrong, then you can talk to them. Please, whatever leverage you have, you use that. Beyond that, I don't think it is, even fair or pragmatic to expect that you will find some kind of a solution. I give you two examples. One example is on Manipur, when as I had mentioned many times earlier, when the ceasefire was extended to the Naga inhabited areas, irrespective of wherever, the assembly of the Manipur assembly was burned down. And that was in, I think, 2001. The second time, I think, when the issue of issuance of permanent residence certificate, PRCs, came up in Arunachal Pradesh, that was in 2020. The house of the deputy chief minister was burned down. So this, the central government is fully aware that, when the mob take the law into their own hands, they are completely helpless, because how many people you can shoot down and, kill. So that's why what the center is trying to do is not finding solution, but everybody trying to keep everybody in good humor, that, we are talking to the Kukis, we are talking to the MEITEIs, various groups, various levels of talks, are going on, just to cool down the situation. I do not expect any kind of solution, whether with respect to the ST status of the MEITEIs, or, some kind of autonomy. I'm not even talking about separate administration. Even strengthening of the hill district councils, which are enacted in 1972, pursuant to the, Article 371. I don't think anybody would tinker at this point of time. People individually, the official, they just want to come out. They just want to come out. Demands, aspirations are a separate thing. Practical way, things, the way they work or the government would work, I don't speak on behalf of the government. But, that's the reality. You want to come out of it. That's all.
I must admit on air, Mr. Chakma, that there was a very astute and very practical analysis of how the talks are going on and how the understanding on the ground is. I'm also joined by Professor Oinam Bhagat. I'm sorry for that, the technical glitch, but I was worried because, you also have to play a dual role today, to analyze or to interpret the sound bites, and I was a bit scared that if I don't get connected to you, I'll have to request either Professor Haukip or Mr. Chakma to do that job for me. Welcome to the show, sir. I was discussing with Professor Haukip and also Mr. Chakma about this. Are you able to hear me, sir?
I'm going out of my video because there is a problem. There is still the sound issue.
No worries, sir.
Let me go off the video.
Okay, please, sure. Can we run the voice of Professor Oinam Bhagat? Professor Bhagat, there's this meeting of Kukizo MLAs with Mizoram Chief Minister Mr. Zoramthanga. How do you view this particular meeting? What exactly does this meeting represent? Does this represent complete lack of trust, which they have also demonstrated ample number of times with the Manipur Chief Minister, or are they feeling that that some sort of mechanism, help, or something can be done with this particular meeting? How do you view this meeting of Kukizo MLAs with the Mizoram Chief Minister, Professor Bhagat?
Well, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, sir.
See, I cannot say about the Kukijo communities who have met him, but one thing is very sure, that Zoramthanga is going to be the next Chief Minister of Mizoram. The election is coming by and he has played his own politics, so cheers to him and good luck.
So you're not going to interpret why this meeting is taking place, sir? Because there's also one question, Professor Bhagat. Yeah,
why is there to play around with this? He has been poking his nose, and that we know because he wants to continue to be in power, and that is how it is. In spite of Nagas doing it in the greater Nagalim, I think the government of Nagaland and whoever were the chief minister has been very responsible. They have been very guarded, even though they might be wanting to have a greater Nagalim, but it has never come out because constitutionally you try to respect the other chief ministers and the matters, internal affair of the other states. Zoramthanga has not done that, so It is his own wisdom. But all I can say is he is playing his own card. Electoral politics is in the line sometimes in November, December. So most likely he will win the election. That's it.
Okay, Professor Bhagat, there's also one question which I've asked both Professor Haukip and also Mr. Chakma is about, that there are also talk about post this meeting that, that if the MLAs can meet Zoramthanga, why can't they meet Manipur Chief Minister Biren Singh?
Are you asking me?
Yes, sir, I'm asking you.
See, if the 10 of them goes and meet Biren Singh now, do you think their houses will be intact? And do you think that they are not in touch with him? I cannot make everything public. Some news also keeps coming. There is always in touch of the MLAs with the other MLAs. The Kuki's MLAs are in touch with the MEITEI MLAs. But this will not be made public because everybody is risking their life and property because there are hardliners in both sides who wants the fight to continue, who wants the problem to escalate. So
Okay.
we have to wait and watch. And while the poor people who are displaced will keep on suffering, because those who are shouting at the peak of their voice for a big demands that they are asking, they are not affected. They are all in the safe zone. This is what you call as politics.
Okay, that's a very interesting thought. I'll first go to Mr. Chakma and then I'll go to Professor Haukip. Mr. Chakma, you heard Professor Bhagat. They're saying that what makes you think that Kukizo MLAs are not in touch with either MEITEI MLAs or the Chief Minister Biren Singh, but they can't make it public because their houses will be burned. I mean, are hardliners controlling the narrative completely in the state of Manipur, sir?
Well, absolutely. I agree with him. I mean, if there are communications between the US and Russia, despite the Ukraine war, obviously there will be communications between the MLS. At the end of the day, belong to the same party. Never forget that today they are representing the Kukis or the MEITEIs. Tomorrow, once the conflict is over, they will all be representing the BJP. So the interest of the party and the belief in the leadership of the party, which is headed by, Home Minister Amit Shah, is intact or remains intact. So it's absolutely possible that they are talking to each other, or there is some tacit understanding between the MLS. It takes place everywhere. This is not an exception. And I completely agree with whatever he said. And in fact, it's true that there are elements which not because possibly they had created it, because I think the radicalization took place over a period of 90 days. I do not think in the beginning this was the intention of any particular group. At least I don't believe either from the Kuki side or the MEITEI side. But once the conflict, start, and once the people start losing their life and there are attacks and counterattacks which take place, people are usually moved by raw emotions, and those emotions at the end of determine the the mentality, the narrative, or whatever happens. So it's I completely agree with it, but I do not think in any manner that the radicalization which took place today was there in the beginning. Of course, there were contesting demands, contesting claims. That's true of all the neighboring communities.
Okay.
But I think the violence had, taken or shaped the narrative. And that is why I think the Home Ministry and all other actors are trying to just cool it down.
Professor Haukip, how do you respond to what Professor Bhagat just said, that that MLAs and every political entity is in touch, but they're not disclosing it because they fear that there will be loss to property and ostracization, as hardliners are now kind of controlling the narrative as far as the state. Hardliners from both sides are controlling the narrative. What do you say on that?
I think the kind of divide that we have in Manipur right now, it's not just that began from 3rd May. No, it has been a build-up for the last so many years. It may look like the Biren Singh has certain policies which are favorable to the hill communities, like go to the hills, go to village. Like, it looks like he has a kind of hill family, tribal friendly policy. But on the other hand, this kind of ornamental policies were hardly serving people, with their needs. But however, on the other hand, there is a simultaneous kind of policy which was very much, targeting a particular community for the
Uh-huh.
last more than 1 year, and that has been very much hurting the community. So this has been built up for the last more than 1 year, and I think May 3rd is the culmination, and that's the result of what has been shown for the last 1 year. And if you ask anyone from the Kuki community, they would be displeased with the chief minister, the kind of policies that he has on land, on forest and other protected and reserved forests. This has been specifically, mentioned in several discussions. And I have also mentioned that the kind of policies, or the kind of actions that have been taken upon hill communities is very different, because if you evict a certain people who are termed as encroachers in Imphal Valley, they will be encroached. Just a few people will be encroached. But if you try to make a certain area as a protected forest, thousands of people, hundreds of acres of lands would be, under the position of the government. So the tribals or the Kukis in particular feel that, many of the lands which they have been, tilling, which have been their livelihood for more than 2-3 centuries, has become suddenly a land of the government. So
Okay.
that's the kind of fear that they have, and it really agitates, and the kind of, of opposition to the policies and the government of the Biren Singh is exacerbated by that. And
Okay.
now, as we see, of course, the MLS may be communicating among themselves how they could bring, and there is a kind of information that the current Chief Minister of Manipur and Biren Singh has offered certain autonomy to the hill communities. That's a welcome move, but if you look into the history of Manipur, political history particularly,
Okay.
you'd find that in the last 45 years since statehood of Manipur, you'd find that apart from gaining full statehood, the majority committee has been getting eighth schedule status to the Manipuri language. Recently, ILP has been imposed
Uh-huh.
or has been extended to Manipur, and now they are demanding ST. And what demand could have been, could have come in the future? So these are the
Okay.
kind of demands that the majority community has been receiving since statehood. But the only demand the Kuki and other tribal people in Manipur had been demanding was the extension of sixth schedule to the autonomous councils. But this
Okay.
has been opposed for the last 45 years. Just imagine,
Okay.
it's just autonomy within the state of Manipur, and this has been opposed to the NEL.
Okay.
And look into the kind of bill that has been formulated by the Hill, tribal MLS in 2021. That is the ADC Bill 2021, and that
Okay.
has been opposed to the NEL by the Manipur government. So internal autonomy within Manipur has been impossible for the last 45 years for the tribals, and I don't blame right now the demands of the Kuki and Naga communities also, because not even a minuscule of autonomy has been allowed in
Okay, I'll
Manipur
Professor
for
Professor
them.
Haukip, I'll come to you, because there's another part of this debate which is about the Kokomi's march, and the report which we have gathered from Press Trust of India, IFP, and other national dailies who have been covering Manipur violence for a very long time. Approximately 90 people have been injured, and the marches have been stopped. They faced stiff resistance. Police had to open fire to ensure that the march doesn't crosses a particular point. And, the PTI report says the defined curfew, hundreds of locals come out of their house at Oinam in Bishnupur district and squatted in the middle of a road around 2:30 p.m. to block the movement of police and other central forces. You can see, visuals of stone pelting and others, which must have provoked. And, you can see those visuals where people are being chased away by the central forces as well as the state police. If I may ask my, producer to up the nat sound a bit so that, the tear gas shells are being lobbed at the protesters to disperse them. And more than 1,680 people have been detained for violations. And you can see the smoke of the tear gas which is there alongside the police vehicles which are parked there to ensure that the march doesn't go beyond a point. The push was stopped at Kangwai. And Professor Oinam Bhagat, are you with us, sir? Professor Bhagat?
Yeah, I'm very much
So
there.
I will ask my producer to play those 2 bytes, which my colleague Kartikeya had requested you to translate so that we can understand, first hand. You can also see the police there using the public address system to impress upon the protesters to not take law and order in its hand and go back from the place where they are protesting right now. This is yesterday's visual, 6th of September 2023 from Bishnupur, where 131 nakas have been installed. And you can see the state forces, the central forces, all stationed alongside to ensure that the situation doesn't go out of hand. Now, can we play those sound bites?
Masidayisida aikoigi lengak amadi ngasigi India government amadi Manipur government amasigi afabata daita pugadabani haise aikoina lawthokre tawbutabu ngasigi leiriba phibam asidayisida makoina hairise hojik leiriba barricade khara hantoe makoi tang trawabu madungda aikoi adu hantokani haibani aikoi ngasi kokomina madu ayaba aikoi makoi de pigi ban leite maram maduna aikoi lapiriba isilina uksinga aikoi na tawgadabase aikoi ki barricade se ngasigi trobungi community honbo inthok baibase aikoi gi obe pandamni masidayisida aikoi iramdam sida leibe irecha khudimana aikoi na taliba pandam se phangdibo wona minaba mathau tai habido thamjage aduga leikai asigi aikoi gi trobungi prajasing amadi thangnaba hulgi prajasinga makoina pami bana karino habido aikoi tathok minasi aikoi iramdam kansebani irecha kansebani aikoi adugi Nataba, Akoida, Toyopa Late, Habido, Akoi Hanbaron doing the Tamjage, Aduga, Iramdam Sir, Akoi Kari Toshige, Kamaitona, Akoi education there, Akoi Nasigi said, Sentensi Gavise, Akoi Puna, Wari Lominaga, Akoi Puna, Apunbana, Bangani, Apunbana, Akoi 10 minutes, Akoi Miam.
Turbung di pigi demak ta mayan na pigi je koi simu pin bala jate akoi turbung di pigi ang wana akoi loina silu raba di pigi mane nga hauri ba je akoi mi Tara kun khatan nga hobane loina sinana silu raba ne tamna huji hundele padagi akoi ki turbung di pigi mi Satre chani pan muk sudare adu akoi chilina ki Kenojing na akoi ngasi taliba demand se akoi ki ai ki pamba demand oi adu maru oi na akoi ki post
Professor Bhagat, can you please explain to our audience what exactly were these protesters saying?
See, just briefly to all the audience to be little aware, when you move from Moirang to Churachandpur in the highway, when you move from Moirang, the first comes this Kwakta, then what you call this MEITEI, then it comes to Kangbai and finally to Torbung. Now Torbung is a village which was inhabited largely dominantly by the MEITEIs and very near to Churachandpur. Now around 3 villages has been evacuated. They were thrown out first, and there had been lots of nakas, these barricades created by the security forces, so that it was made as a buffer zone. Now, the COCOMI, which is the largest organizations of the MEITEIs, they initiated a march to go up to Kangbai and, if possible, up to Torbung. And now, these people were saying that we want the barricade to be removed, and if any in any eventualities in which the barricades are not lifted out and there are other repercussions that comes from the public side, then the government of India and Manipur government should be solely responsible for the consequences. And what they are saying, the people together has decided to go up to Torbung, and people who has been displaced, the MEITEIs, they should be resettled, and they have to reach to the community center of that village. This is what they were saying.
Okay. So, and, Professor Bhagat, how do you view
yes.
this, this march? Do you see this further inflaming of passion? Do you see as assertion by one side? How do you view this march of COCOMI, sir?
COCOMI was not that aggressive as my reading has been. They had been to Delhi. They met Home Minister and also met the Chief of the IB. And I had the good opportunity to interact with them on the day they met them. And we had few discussions, and we got information of what the discussion between the Home Minister and COCOMI. So they were all in agreement that there has to be possibility of trying for dialogue with the Kuki groups, and that COCOMI should even initiate dialogue with the Kukis. And there should be also an attempt of resettlement of both the communities, guarded by the security forces. It's at few places where, experiment can be made in spite of all the tensions. Now, this was the earlier position of COCOMI. But as the day goes by, the violence have not been stopped. MEITEIs are charging that the Kuki militants keep on firing. 4 or 5 days back, some farmers were hurt by bullet injury when they were going to the field. So the women Meira Paipis were very, very, unstoppable. And they were saying that you have to move and resettle. This cannot go on like this. It is more than 4 months. So that is how yesterday the whole march, the people's march, I am told more than 10,000 or 20,000, maybe even huge crowd.
That's a large number, Professor.
So they moved up to Torbung, and what this gentleman was saying, that around 700 to 800 people are stationed in Torbung village, which is very near to the boundary with Churachandpur. Earlier, this was no man's land, a buffer zone.
Okay.
So this is how it is.
Okay. Mr. Chakma, how do you see this, this push by COCOMI, if I may say so, to reclaim the lost land?
Well, you have put it very rightly. It's reclaiming territories. And of course, if the government of India or the state government of Manipur, the security forces, if they had allowed this march to go on, then it would have led to more violence, more killing. I think this, in a way, illustrates one particular point, is when the state wants, they really can control the situation. At the end of the day, if you can control a mob of 10,000 to 20,000 people, with your tear gas and etc., obviously, if the state government or the central security forces in the beginning had decided to act, they could have stopped the violence spiraling out of control. And that is what I say. When the Supreme Court intervened with respect to the violence against these two particular women who were paraded naked, you could see that the security forces could dig out the accused wherever they were staying. So what do these particular incidents convey? These incidents convey one particular message, that if the central government and the state government of Manipur from the very beginning wanted to ensure that the violence do not go out of hand, they could have stopped.
They could have stopped.
Otherwise, yeah, they didn't stop. So I think the refrain which we hear, that no riots can continue more than, say, 48 hours or 72 hours without the sanction of the state government or the state which is in control. That's very much true. Whatever the reason, whether it's laxity or whatever the reason.
Okay. Professor, how do you view this march?
The priority right now has to be restoring law and order and ensure peace for quite some time, so that when people are settled with the kind of environment that they have, peaceful environment, then definitely someone's land is permanently should be under their hand, their free will, whether they sell it or whether they sell it again, it's upon their free will. But right now what is important is ensuring peace and law and order. And I just want to put an analogy to the kind of march that we saw yesterday. For instance, in Shugnu area, in another southeastern part of Manipur, there is a place called Shiro, and there is a village called Thingkampai where the houses are still standing, the Kuki houses are still standing. So if the Kuki in Chandel district organizes a rally of thousands of people to march to Shugnu and to occupy Langching, which is now razed to the ground, and to occupy such Kuki villages earlier and the Kuki dominated areas where these areas have been cleared, then what would be the situation? The army would definitely block all those kind of marches. So we have to think about peace first, law and order first, then talk about resettlement, talk about reclaiming or whatever we put it. That should come later on, and this settlement should come only after ensuring law and order and peace among the varying communities. And this peace could only come through certain political negotiations, political settlements, which I've been putting on for the last 4 months.
Yes, you have been. Yes, you have been, Professor Hauke. But in the middle of all these, visuals of violence, gloom, I would say, which has descended down on the state of Manipur for last 4 months or more. Today is birthday of Lord Krishna, and in the middle of all this news of gloom, some heartening pictures have come of celebration of Janamashtami in Imphal in the state of Manipur. There you can see people thronging to the temple, performing puja, donating alms to celebrate Janamashtami. And had it been, a season of peace, this would have been covered with much more fervor. But still, it's a picture, it's a visual which gives hope as people celebrate Janamashtami in Imphal, Manipur.
GPT. It can generate codes and human-like responses through text, write stories, and do a lot more.
I work in a newsroom with anchors, researchers and scriptwriters, graphic artists, producers, video editors, camera